Hello and welcome. I'm Mallory and I'm a nutrition instructor with Eat Smart Idaho. Today we will be talking about MyPlate. MyPlate is a tool we use to build a healthy and balanced plate. Each food group, fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy, are important for our health, each contributing in different ways. We can use MyPlate to choose a variety of foods at each meal. This is what my plate looks like. We can see that about half of the plate is fruits and vegetables, about a quarter is grains, a little less than a quarter is protein, and dairy is off to the side. So let's start off with an activity. Let's grab a piece of paper, draw a circle on it, the little circle to the side for dairy, divide that circle into 4 groups, just like the one you see here on the MyPlate. Now, using your MyPlate you just drew, think of a breakfast, lunch, dinner, or snack that you would like to make and eat, something that you actually want to eat, and write it or draw it on your MyPlate. Pause this video to give that a go. All right, you guys did a great job. Now set that aside and we will come back to it later. Okay, let's start off by talking about grains. So we mentioned that about a fourth of the plate is going to be grains. Now grains are so important because they contain lots of fiber and B vitamins. So fiber is something that's super important for our digestive tract. It actually feeds the bacteria in your gut and it helps to prevent constipation. Now, B vitamins are great. It helps keep your nervous system healthy. It helps folate, helps with pregnant women. So, how many grains do we need? Well, the goal is to get about 6 ounces, but what does 6 ounces look like? Well, 1 ounce is a slice of bread, or a half a bun, or even a half a bagel. Now, I don't eat half a bagel, so right there, I'm getting 2 out of my 6 ounces. 1 ounce can also look like half a cup of cooked rice, oatmeal, grits. It could also look like 1 cup of dry cereal, or about 5 to 7 crackers. So not all grains are created equal. Okay, there are whole grains and refined grains. We have a saying that goes like this: make half your grains whole grains. Now I like to try and push for a little bit more personally, but half is our goal. So how do we know if it's a whole grain or not? How do we know if we're eating a whole grain or a refined grain? We want to choose foods that have the whole grain listed as the first ingredient. That's how we know. So things that are whole grains are whole wheat, oats or oatmeal, whole grain corn, popcorn, brown rice, rye, barley, or wild rice. There are a few others like quinoa, farro, all of those ancient grains out there. It's fun to mix them up a little bit. Now, this can be kind of tricky identifying what is a whole grain and what is not. Take this bread for an example. The one on the left is a whole grain and the one on the right is a refined grain or processed grain. That means that the whole grain, all of the parts of the grain, all of the parts of the seed are still there. It's just been ground down. And you're still eating that whole seed with the outside bran with tons of fiber and the inside germ and endosperm with lots and lots of vitamins and minerals. Now, the processed or refined grain removes that outside layer and that inside, leaves you with only starch. So that's the difference. So how we're identifying that in The store can look like reading the ingredients and the packaging on the front. On the left, we see whole grain wheat, 100% whole wheat. That's our first clue. That's a good sign. On the ingredients, it says stone ground whole wheat flour on the left. Great, rock star, that is a whole wheat food. So the one on the right, it doesn't say anything about whole wheat on the front, it just says wheat, and the ingredients list the first as being enriched wheat flour. That means they removed the fiber and minerals. So we would like to choose the whole wheat option on the left whenever possible. So eating more whole grains could look like choosing brown rice over white rice, choosing the whole wheat bread over white bread, choosing fun grains like quinoa, barley, farro, things like that. Now on to vegetables. We see about a fourth of the plate, a little bit more than a fourth of the plate is vegetables. Now, a lot of people are lacking vegetables in their diets. So this is something we really want to pay attention to. Why? Because vegetables provide a variety of vitamins, minerals, fiber, all great things for our body. So how many servings of vegetables should I eat a day? Well, we need about 2.5 cups per day. I like to round that up to 3 if possible. The more, the better. So 1 cup of vegetables can look like 1 cup of cooked or raw vegetables, or about 2 cups of leafy greens, just because they're a little fluffy. The big takeaway with eating vegetables is to eat a variety of colors. So each color provides a different nutrient for your body. It affects your body, promotes health in different ways. So for example, orange foods like carrots, they have a lot of vitamin A or carotene that helps your eyes. Green leafy vegetables, they have tons of calcium. And citrus foods have lots and lots of vitamin C. So that there, you don't want to just eat citrus foods all day, every day, because you won't be getting all of these other beautiful nutrients from all these other colors. Now, for specific colors, I really want you to focus on dark green vegetables like spinach, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. Also red vegetables like red bell peppers, tomatoes, beets, and orange foods like carrots, sweet potato, orange bell peppers, things like that. These are colors that provide great vitamins and minerals for your body and that most people lack. So just another thing to pay attention to. Now, in your mind, you might have that fresh vegetables are the best, and if I'm eating frozen or canned, it's not as good. Well, that's wrong. All options, fresh, frozen, and canned, are good options. And fresh, the only thing I want you to think about is the season. So currently it's spring. Asparagus is coming into season. Now the asparagus now versus the winter asparagus is much different. Now it's a little bit more tender, sweet, and it actually has higher amounts of vitamins and minerals because it is in its current peak growing season. So frozen are actually picked and flash frozen at their peak ripeness in their season. So that's also a great option, nothing wrong with it. Canned, the only thing I want you to think about is the sodium content. So choose the cans that say no salt added or low sodium. And when you do get those, drain the vegetables and then rinse them off. It really does reduce the sodium when you rinse. Okay, so The takeaway is eat a variety, but also just eat more vegetables, right? So we want to think of ways that we can add more vegetables in at snack times, for breakfast even, in soups and stews, things like that. So kind of be thinking, how can I add more vegetables into my current dishes that I love for my family and I know my family eats? Okay, fruit, my favorite. We see that it's about a little less than a fourth, so that means that we don't need to eat as many because of the natural fructose sugar content. So again, just like vegetables, fruits are a powerhouse for vitamins, minerals, and fiber. They're like nature's candy. I cannot get enough of them, honestly. So how many servings do we need a day? We need about 2 cups a day. So 1 cup can look like a piece of fresh fruit about the size of your fist as a gauge. Maybe 1 cup of pieces of fruit, fresh, canned, or frozen. Half of a cup of dried fruit, because remember, dried fruit is the full fruit, just the water taken out of it. So it still has all of those great vitamins and minerals in it. And then 8 ounces of 100% fruit juice. That is the key, 100%. But we kind of want to limit that just because we can eat a whole fresh piece of fruit instead and get all the fiber. Okay, so again, the variety is key. The colors are key. Eating berries, not just apples every single day, you know. Um, think of ways that you can add more fruit to your daily life. Maybe have a bowl of fruit ready to go, apples and oranges and bananas. These are really great things to have for your kids on hand. They can just grab a banana and eat it themselves. Really gives that autonomy with choosing fruit. And think of ways that we can add fruit to our mornings, to our breakfast, to our desserts even. Okay, same with vegetables. Fresh, canned, and frozen are all great options. Fresh, again, in the season. For example, strawberries. When you get a nice fresh strawberry in the summer, it's bright red, super sweet, and has great flavor, even darker red, versus a strawberry in the winter, which is basically white on the inside. So it's lacking nutrients. So those are just things that you want to look out for. Again, frozen fruit is picked at its peak ripeness in season and flash frozen, so nothing wrong with that. Actually, a really great way to have fruit on hand. And for canned fruit, the only thing I want you to look out for is to see if it's packed in water or its own juice. Kind of avoid the ones packed in syrup and drain the fruit and rinse it. Okay, and dairy. Dairy are things like milk, cheese, and yogurt. So the important thing about dairy is its calcium content, but also the protein and vitamin D and potassium. So basically, how it works is that calcium helps to build strong bones and teeth, and vitamin D is there to help that calcium build those strong bones, and potassium is there to maintain the bone growth and bone health. So most adults need about 3 servings. 1 serving looks like 1 cup of milk or yogurt, about a third cup of shredded cheese, 1.5 ounces of just regular cheese, and surprisingly, about a fourth cup of tofu. So tofu is made from soybean. Soybean is super high in protein and most soy products are fortified with calcium. That's why it is on this list. Okay, when you are choosing dairy, look out for the low fat or fat-free dairy products. These are things we want to choose because it has the same amount of calcium and protein, but just less fat. Now, if you're like me and you cannot tolerate dairy, you're going to want to look for lactose-free or soy milks that are fortified with calcium. Also, cereals have calcium added to them. And surprisingly, dark leafy greens are a great source of calcium. Okay, last category, protein. Protein comes from animal sources and plant sources. Animal sources are things like poultry, fish, beef, pork. Plant sources are things like beans, peas, nuts, seeds. Okay, so how much do we need? Yes, we need about 5.5 ounces. Most Americans get way more than 5.5 ounces. 1 ounce can look like a fourth cup of cooked beans or peas, about 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, a half ounce of nuts or seeds, and 1 ounce of meat or poultry. Okay, so that 1 ounce of meat or poultry, this is a different perspective. So I'm sure most of you have heard the palm of your hand or a deck of cards. That's how much we want to aim for on our plate. So the palm of our hand or a deck of cards is equal to about 3 ounces of meat. So if we're looking at 3 ounces of meat and we need about 5.5 ounces as our goal, we're more than halfway to our goal. So we really don't need that much protein. When you are choosing proteins, look to choose lean meats. Lean meats as in chicken, turkey, or lean beef, ranging from 90% lean. Also, beans. Beans are the greatest source of protein, in my opinion. Super high in protein, have tons of vitamins, minerals, and fiber. That fiber that we don't get enough of usually, this is where it can come from. They're naturally low in fat, and they're way less expensive than meat. Now, if you are just adding beans to your diet for the first time or increasing the amount, do it slowly because of that fiber. That's where you get that flatulence and people feel uncomfortable and then back away from it. But if you add to it slowly, then that will reduce those symptoms. Really, fiber is just feeding the bacteria in your gut, and your gut are just loving it and happy, and that's what's producing the gas. Okay, so non-meat sources of protein. We talked about tofu, so also soybeans, because tofu is made from soybeans. Nuts and seeds, beans and peas, and then eggs. Okay, so that's a wrap up on the MyPlate. So look at the meal you created. Knowing about MyPlate now, does that meal look balanced? How can you modify it to become a balanced meal? What were you missing? What are things you would like to add or change? And did you make a meal that aligned with what we talked about? I'll give you a moment for that. Just pause the video and make some changes, think about it. Okay, great. Now that you've had time to think about it, I'll show you what I wrote as my meal. So I created a breakfast taco. I had a side of orange as my fruit. I had eggs as my protein, and I mixed that with soy milk to make scrambled eggs. And then I used tomato and bell pepper as my vegetable within that scrambled egg. And then I used a whole wheat tortilla. So this is an opportunity to add whole wheat where maybe you would only use a white flour tortilla. Corn tortilla would also have worked. Okay, so we have one part of the equation, eating balanced. So what's the other part? It's moving our bodies or physical activity, if that's what you want to call it. So we really need to find that balance between the food we eat or the energy we take in and physical activity or the energy we use. How much activity do we need a day? Well, adults need about 30 minutes and children need at least 60 minutes a day. So 30 minutes could look like 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, 10 minutes in the evening. It doesn't have to be in the same time period. So this could really change up how you think about physical activity. You know, sometimes people think, oh, I have to get it done, have to get it done. But really, it could look like a 10-minute walk with the dog in the morning. It could look like stretching in the afternoon, or it could look like 10 minutes of lunges in the evening. Really, however it fits into your life is the best way. Okay, let's take a little moving break. You can just do this in your seat where you are. So sit up tall at the edge of your seat, feet flat on the ground. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in and out. In and out. Okay, we're gonna just do some stretching. So raise your right arm all the way up. Put it onto the left side of your head and move your head to the right, giving some distance between your shoulder and your right ear. Really extend down through that left arm to the ground. Don't crank it, just a light little bend. Now move your head down to get a stretch in the low back and into the shoulder. Great. Now gently give it a little good movement. Now onto the other side, stretch your left arm up, put your left hand to the right side of your head, and again, tilt your left. Again, giving that space between the shoulder and the ear, really grounding down in your right shoulder and reaching down with your right hand. Now, bend forward a little bit, really feeling that stretch in the neck and the shoulder. Now releasing gently, giving it a good move. Okay, so that's one way you can move your body. Okay, that is MyPlate in a nutshell. Okay, knowing all of that about MyPlate, what is one change you will make in how you and your family will incorporate this concept into your life? Now, what will make that hard for you and your family? And what are ways in which you can overcome this? Pause the video to give that a think. Great, okay. So now I've created this little recipe video for you. It is lemon spring vegetable pasta. And we'll give this a fun look. Okay. I hope you liked that video, and the recipe card will be coming your way as well, so you can make it at home. Just think about all the different food groups in that recipe. There's whole wheat grain, there's dairy, there's vegetables. Okay, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation about MyPlate. Afterwards, I would love for you to take a survey. It is really short, less than 5 minutes. Here's the link to it. You'll also be emailed a link for the survey, and it really helps us continue giving this programming to people like you in our community and helps us improve our programming. So thank you. Have a great day.